For defensive end, we have Garrett, Bosa, and Frank Clark. Bosa and Garrett, no doubt, they definitely should be in. Frank Clark, to me, he hasn't been as good as he was. Like last year in the playoffs, he was an absolute menace. I think, and he's kind of living off some of that play that he had. This year, the Chiefs pass rush hasn't been as good. You know, they only have really Frank Clark and Jones, so you know, he's had more responsibility with that. But I don't know. I feel like he could definitely have been replaced.
Yeah, I don't think Frank Clark has played at the Frank Clark level this year. He's been not Frank Clark, and you know, there's expectations because he's paid a lot of money and he is an excellent player. It's unfortunate that he didn't make it, but yeah, he hasn't played at the Frank Clark level. And I think the guy that should have gotten it was Emmanuel Ogbah from the Miami Dolphins. He's a kind of defensive end, outside linebacker type guy, and he's had a hell of a season. He does a lot of things for them. I know, just watching games like on TV, I've just seen Emmanuel Ogbah wreak havoc. Like the streak that the Dolphins had 3 or 4 games where they had a defensive/special team touchdown. I know Emmanuel Ogbah was responsible for 1 or 2 of them. So he's an excellent player. I think he has 8 or 9 sacks, which is a great number. I think he should have made it over Frank Clark.
And the AFC, like this year's pass rushers, I don't think they've had as many sacks as in prior years, and Ogbah's at the very top of the list, especially for AFC. Moving on, defensive tackle, Chris Jones, Cameron Hayward, Campbell. One guy who should have made it, definitely DeForest Buckner. He's honestly might be the best out of all those guys. And I think he'll probably make the Pro Bowl. I mean, he's been amazing on the Colts. I know you got to watch him on the Niners, so.
Yeah. So DeForest Buckner is going to be an All-Pro this year, at least a second-team All-Pro. Chris Jones, I get. He's still dominant. I think he's a little better, personally, than DeForest Buckner. But Calais Campbell, again, just another guy who's a Hall of Famer, right? He's a Hall of Fame player. But this feels like Jason Witten when he made Pro Bowls with the Cowboys, those 2 or 3 years when he had 40 catches for 400 yards, you know? Calais Campbell, he's been hurt this year, and he's not DeForest. He's not at the level of DeForest Buckner anymore. DeForest Buckner has had a dominant season, and he 100% should have been a Pro Bowler and an All-Pro. It's unfortunate that he didn't make it.
Yep. And then outside linebacker, T.J. Watt, Bradley Chubb, Matt on. I think Watt and Chubb definitely deserve. I mean, Watt's going to be in the Defense Player of the Year conversation. Judon only has 5 sacks, though. I think he's kind of living off being like the only pass rusher for the Ravens. I don't really think he should be in there. I think there's definitely guys who've done more this year personally.
Yeah, you know, Chubb has only had 7.5 sacks, but I think a lot of that is because they don't have Von Miller, and so he's been kind of their only pass rusher. I don't know how good of a season Jarrell Casey is. I haven't watched a lot of Broncos football, but I know Jarrell Casey is a very good player, and I know the Broncos just have had injuries everywhere. So the thing with this is another place where I don't understand. Emmanuel Ogbah had 2 different positions where he could have gotten in. This is another one where he should have gotten in. Judon isn't having the kind of season that's going to warrant a Pro Bowl selection. Ogbah is. Like, T.J. Watt is having a Defensive Player of the Year season, so I get it. And Bradley Chubb is better than Judon, so I also get that. But there's no way to me that Judon deserved to make it over Emmanuel Ogbah.
Yep. Next, we have inside linebackers of Darius Leonard and Tremaine Edmunds. I mean, they're both really good, honestly. There's not as many. I think the NFC has a lot better inside linebackers than the AFC does. So both those guys are really good. Leonard, for sure. I mean, he made it as a rookie. He made all as a rookie. So I don't really have any complaints with either of them.
Yeah. Oh, so real quick on Jarrell Casey, he's played only 3 games this season. So just tells you more how hard it's been for Bradley Chubb. And regarding the inside linebackers, Edmunds, you know, he's been hurt this season a little bit. I think he's been banged up, so he hasn't been playing as well, though he's really turning on into form right now. I think he made it more for his name, but Darius Leonard for sure. Darius Leonard to me is a top 3 inside linebacker in the NFL. He's awesome. He for sure should have made it. I mean, instead of Edmunds, I guess we could argue some guys, but Edmunds is still a great player, and he probably deserves to make it. especially if he was healthy all season and not playing banged up.
Yep. And for cornerback, we have Xavier Howard, Tre'Davious White, Marlon Humphrey, and Stephon Gilmore. I'm cool with all those guys. One name to shout in is J.C. Jackson, who's been a turnover machine.
Mm-hmm.
Could argue him, but honestly, those 4 guys are all just like actually incredible. So I don't have any complaints.
Yeah, so those are 4 of the 5 best cornerbacks in the NFL to me. So it's not, I can't argue with any of them. Again, I think J.C. Jackson was a good call. The other guy would be Bryce Callahan, who's having an awesome season playing the slot cornerback for the Denver Broncos. And PFF, he's another guy PFF loves, and I don't always agree with PFF, but I agree with them on this, especially playing the slot in Vic Fangio's defense is very difficult. It requires a lot of responsibility, and he's doing an amazing job at it. But for overall, I think it's tough to replace Humphrey, Gilmore, White, and Howard.
Yeah. Next, we have the safeties. I'm just going to do both of them. Minkah Fitzpatrick, Justin Simmons, Tyrann Mathieu. Only guy for me who's maybe missing out is Jesse Bates. So he's the safety on the Bengals. He might honestly be the best safety in the league. You know, there's a strong argument for it. He's definitely the best player on a bad Bengals defense, which I think hurts him. And the Bengals have just been, you know, they've won 3 games this year.
Mm-hmm.
So kind of tough for him to really get too much notoriety.
Yeah, I'm exactly with you. Those 3 are solid to me. Matthews, obviously, everybody knows how good he is. Same with Minkah. And Justin Simmons has been quietly an excellent player. But, yeah, Jesse Bates has had an amazing season this year. He's been unbelievable. And he's like probably a cornerstone player for the Bengals. Hopefully he gets kind of the Budda Baker treatment where people, if the team gets a little better and they play a little more on live TV games, people start to realize how good he is because he's phenomenal. He definitely has an argument, but I think those 3, it's not egregious to leave Jesse Bates out if you're putting those 3 in.
So next we're going to have, I'm going to just do all special teams. So Morgan Cox, Jake Bailey as the punter. Morgan Cox was the long snapper. Justin Tucker, kicker. Returner is Andre Roberts from the Bills, and then Matthew Slater as per usual. Yeah, I honestly don't know too much. The only other person instead of Tucker who I'd place, but I'm not mad they didn't, is Jason Sanders, who's actually been really good this year. He's the Dolphins kicker. He's 8 of 8 from beyond 50, or he hasn't missed beyond 50, so he's amazing. But, you know, Justin Tucker he might be the best kicker ever, so kind of hard to exclude that guy from the Pro Bowl roster. Yeah,
pretty much. That's kind of what it is. I think Harrison Butker's also had a pretty good season. I think he's only missed 2 kicks, and he's 3 for 3 for beyond 50 yards. But you can't really replace Justin Tucker. This is the greatest kicker we've ever seen. In regards to the other special teamers, I know absolutely nothing about long snappers, so I'm not going to pretend like there's another guy that should have made it. Jake Bailey's a really good punter. I think the guy that missed out, and that's because he wasn't healthy, is the best punter in the NFL, and that's Brett Kern from the Titans. But he's been hurt this season. But to me, he's a cinch Pro Bowler when he's healthy. And then Andre Roberts has been a very good kick returner for a while. So he for sure is deserving of that honor.
Yep. And now